legs going for amputation, I did paint them a bright purple because I decided if my legs were going to go out, they were going to go out in style. When I was growing up as a little girl, if someone had asked me what I wanted to be when I was growing up, I don't think I would have ever said quadruple amputee. But it is one of the things that I am today. A quadruple amputee, a 10-time 2K runner, a public speaker, a professional, a dancer, and a very, very accomplished bathroom singer. But more than anything else, definitely a quad amputee. It was to celebrate our 4th wedding anniversary and a trip to Cambodia that I contracted a very rare bacteria. The bacteria ensured that all of my limbs had thrombosis, and all of my limbs had to go through amputation, and that's what the doctors said. And you know, for me, that was that, and we'll figure out a way from there. A few months later, gangrene set in, and I had to deal with smelly limbs, and I really didn't know how to cope with that at all. But as a family, and even myself, we weren't really willing to give up as yet. So Ayurveda came into my life. True to my Malayali roots, we thought it would work, and it did work for us. For a moment, the gangrene went away. There was hope, there was optimism. I even started to work. So I really thought that things were really going to change. But the constant tapping on the laptop, I managed to fracture my first hand, my left, and I had to amputate that. So that was one limb down. 6 months later, while I was having a conversation with my mother and my brother-in-law, the rest of my right arm fell off. It's called auto-amputation. Basically, the body just lets go of something that it doesn't need. I didn't know that could happen, and I was absolutely shocked, and that was the second limb down. On September 18th, 2013, I went in and had both my legs amputated. So we went the whole circle and had everything completed. I remember a day like during the ocean of days when I was still coming to terms with my disability, and even the word quadruple amputee sounded very new in my mouth. I was upstairs watching television, and the rest of my family was downstairs having lunch. And there was a very harmless little beetle that came into my room. And for whatever reasons, I don't know why, I found it extremely life-threatening and menacing, and I felt like it was going to attack me. And I remember bringing the roof down and screaming, and my entire family came upstairs to figure out that it was only a beetle. But for me, that day was probably the realization of what disability might mean for me, a life where I was going to be helpless and I couldn't really protect myself. And I really figured and thought that day that I'd really have to figure out how I'm going to deal with the rest of my life. For about 2 years, I saw 2 rooms. I would be physically moved from one to the other. And the only ever time that I stepped out was to meet the doctor. And all of that changed once prosthetics came along. Today, I think, fast forward, if I say for a lot of years now, today I go dancing because I really want to. I go to the movies with my friends. I eat at some of the hottest places in town. I do pretty much everything that all of you all do. But the only difference is that I do get applauded a lot for doing it. So picture this, right? I'm at my favorite place where we love to go dancing, and we're having a great time. And I'm with my friends, and there's a similar group of people near us. And somewhere along the line, I know that they've seen me. I know they're having a conversation about me, but of course, we're having so much fun that we don't really care. Some of my friends met some of them outside, and then they had this whole cheering up and hugs and all of that with my friends. And they thought my friends were really amazing. Now, of course, my friends are amazing. That's because I'm amazing. But the point was that my friends' total claim to fame was the fact that they were friends with a quadruple amputee. So they really got kudos for that. The second story, I'm in the lift. I'm on the 4th floor at work. So I'm in the lift. I get in. I'm harmlessly going upstairs, and somebody walks in on the 2nd floor, and then it takes him a minute or so to realize that, I didn't have my arms. And then he very instinctively wants to touch my feet, and he calls me a goddess. Now, again, my claim to fame there again is the fact that I'm a quad amputee wanting to turn up to work. The third story, I'm at work, and a colleague I can see her limp and, come towards me, and politely I do ask her what's wrong with her. And then she tells me that she did have a ligament tear, and she was bedridden for about 2 weeks. And then she said, you know what, Shalini, I've been thinking about you because I've been bedridden for 2 weeks, and I do understand what you've really been through. It took every fiber in my body to fight and not really point out to her that a ligament tear and amputation were two different things, but we let that pass. And then she said that, I really think how terrible your life must have been. I did point and stop and tell her that really, listen, my life's not so bad, but she insisted, and she absolutely wanted to reiterate the fact that my life is really awful. I feel if people are not bemoaning my fate, it's only probably because they're staring so hard, or they're trying to figure out, like, how do I make her realize that her life is really difficult. Another story, then this is of me in an elevator, and it's my favorite story of a little girl who walks in with her mother into the lift. I've watched a movie and going back, and the girl is about 2.5, I think, and at some point she does look at me, and then she's pointing the finger at my arms, and she's tugging at her mother, and she's wanting to really get her mother's attention to say, hey, there's something different here. Now, obviously, the mother is absolutely mortified and she's embarrassed, so she clamps the daughter down and absolutely drags her out of the lift. And I really thought that, what if she had really just had a conversation and said hello to me? I can tell you so many more stories, but I think fundamentally at the crux of every story is just two parts, right? One is we have absolutely no idea how do we speak about disability or talk to people with disability. And the second thing is that I think people are not able to understand that disability and happiness are not contradictory. It can really exist, right? You see, for most of us, disability has really no reference points. Neither did it for me, right, until I was disabled myself. But what do we need to cultivate a willingness to engage? Ask yourself the question, very few basic questions. Do you really avoid the topic? And if you do, why do you avoid the topic? And how can you respectfully seek more knowledge? And the next time you meet someone with a disability, either in the elevator or if you meet them at work, you're not really shuffling your feet, avoiding eye contact. You're able to just smile, acknowledge them as a human being. And if you want to have a talk, please talk. And if you have children, teach them that it's so important to teach them there's nothing wrong with disability. It just happens to be a way of life for a lot of us. Now, while language can really go a long way, I know that it isn't enough, right? Language is about the individual. But accessibility is about the structure. And accessibility should not be only for the privileged, right? Today, I'm a blade runner and I spend a lot of money on my prosthetics. I work, I travel, I have so many opportunities for entertainment and leisure. And I'm very, very conscious of the fact that all of this is possible because of my privileges. It's nothing else, right? But for many, many people in India today, disability means a life that you're confined within four walls. You have very little opportunity for an education or for financial independence. And it isn't their fault. It's the fault of the structures that we create. It's the fault of the mindsets that we've perpetuated. Now, according to statistics, about 3% of India's population is disabled, which takes it to about 3 crore odd people. And if you think about the number of lives that it does affect, right? If you talk about a disabled person has a family, loved ones, that number goes up to as much as about 10, 15 crore people. How do we justify excluding all of them? It just doesn't make sense to me. And how do we make sure that we're able to de-link accessibility from privilege, right? I believe the world works on balance, yin-yang, survival of the fittest, call it whatever you want to call it. What if disability is in the world to restore the balance, to demand that we're more human, to truly reach our full potential and embrace all our spaces and differences and all? When I was a child, I did not really dream of becoming a quadruple amputee, right? Yet today, I feel totally badass every time I'm in my blades. I'm able to push my body, and it gives me so much of confidence. I'm okay with my scars. I'm totally okay with my disability today. I lead a great life, actually, to be honest. I'm drunk the most and fed the most at any party because I get a piece of everyone's pie. I get some of the best parking in Bangalore city malls, and very rarely does an auto driver say no to me. My life's not really that bad, isn't it? And I feel like all of this, my disability has really taught me to be kinder. It's taught me confidence. It's taught me discipline. It's taught me strength. And I finally learned that I don't need to apologize for my body, limblessness and all. It's allowed me so many instances to point my non-existent finger into the sky and tell the person up there that they chose to mess with the wrong person. It's taught me to find the words for it and to seek the spaces to express it, and not really, and not because I have to, but because I really deserve it. Much too often, I think disability is spoken to as imperfections, as inability, and totally lacking, right? But I'm here to plant a really revolutionary thought. What if people with disabilities stopped apologizing? What if able-bodied people were able to find the right words? And what if the next able-bodied person that walked into an elevator with me was just able to be polite and have a conversation about the weather? Thank you.